Hi everyone, I'm Ashleigh Hodges. Welcome to my Thursday evenings. I'm going to be creating lovely colour for you this evening, or maybe it's during the day, maybe you're watching from the States or somewhere else. I'm just going to let it tick through so a few people can join before I get started. Give me a wave to say that you're there. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I love to see where it is that you guys are watching. I'm in my flat in London. It's been a nice sunny day today, so we've got to enjoy some sunshine through our windows. Hi everyone. I'm just going to let everyone join. Hi everyone. Give me a little wave, let me know you're out there. Tell me where you're tuning in from. I love to see where you're coming in from. Just going to give it a few more seconds, let everybody kind of click on. Hi everybody. Hi from the Netherlands. Hi Ellen. Fabulous. So now that I've got some of you here from Malaysia, incredible. Hi everybody. Fabulous. So thank you so much for joining me on my live today. I'm going to be creating a colour for you. This has been kind of a combination of inspirations. I've already pre-done some of this for you so that I'm showing you the important parts this evening. Thank you all from Hong Kong. Wow, incredible. Toronto, hi. Thank you so much. From the Canary Islands. Incredible. I have family living in the Canary Islands at the moment. Yes, so as I was saying, my partner Matt has cut this very beautifully in the same way that Tom cut the doll's head on Tuesday. So I'm going to be showing you a colour technique for Tom's hair cutting technique. And this really is a kind of commercial balayage fill, kind of a take on the colour sweep. So I liked the idea of creating some like depth through this top and then coming out into this kind of balayage boho sort of fill. And the same as Tom, kind of taking inspiration from that 70s kind of sun, like California vibes more than anything. And that's kind of where I wanted to go with the inspiration. So I've already pre-coloured this top section and it has been sectioned out into a star like so, and that's just been clipped away for you. And then on this side I've already pre-lightened this side. So what I'm going to show you today is I'm going to pre-lighten this side to show you the technique that I worked with. And then on this side I'm going to do the colour melt so that you can see the technique and the tones I'm going to use for the colour melt. And then what I'll do is I'll allow it to develop, rinse off, I'll colour melt and tone the other side so they're both even, and then I'll post up the picture again tomorrow like we did last week, but now on Facebook. So yeah, keep any questions that you have throughout this live, please ping them in to me. Keep chatting, chat with me, chat with each other. Thursdays are all about us connecting together. So please feel free to chat and let's connect. So what I'm going to do, without getting myself tangled up, there we go. We're going to start in the nape for this. And I'm going to work through the side that I told you has not been pre-lightened. And I'm working with Liberty in Century of Light. I'm actually going to go in with 40 volume. That's purely because I'm working on a doll's head. I would never normally go in with 40 volume on a client unless obviously I've worked with them a long time and I know their hair is in really good condition. The majority of the time when I'm working with Liberty, I'll go in with 20 or 30. So I'm literally only doing this because of it's a doll's head, so just to clarify that. From Costa Rica, wow, incredible. Lindsay from California. Hi everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. It's so lovely to hear from you all. Amazing, thank you. Can we have formulas too, please? Yes, of course. I will explain all the formulas as I go. And I will also, when I post up the final image tomorrow for you, I'll also rewrite all the formulas in that post so you can see exactly what I was doing. Perfect, so I'm just going to lift this up ever so slightly, make sure you can still see it. So I'm starting in at the nape here. So because I've created this star shape through here, what we're doing is we've got our sections already mapped out for us, which is really lovely. So I'm just going to be working on angles with these sections. So I'm going to go from this point here. There we go, make sure you can see. So I'm going to go from this point here down to the corner of the nape. So we're taking that section right off here. Perfect, so we've got a nice section now, as you can see. I'm going to be balayaging that through. So this is a really nice technique to be able to bring back to your salon because it's going to be quite quick. Hi from Italy, Czech Republic, hi. I'm just going to keep checking throughout the live in case I'm missing any questions. If I do miss any questions, I will try my best to re-watch and answer in the comments for you. Perfect, so I'm just going to take a nice amount of the lightener on my brush, and I'm actually going to start just brushing it through this top section first. So I'm starting to get my blend, and then I'm going to pull my tension. So anyone that's kind of seen me do a balayage or done a balayage course with me will know it's all about your tension when we're kind of creating this look. So I'm going to bring this tension over to the side whilst I work through here, and I'm going to come up, take that off, and just using the corner of my brush to flick that through and blend that in. I'm going to bring that tension back to the centre now and feather that up. Hi Tom, hi everyone, thank you for joining me. So for those that have just joined, I'm working on the haircut that Tom did on Tuesday and taking the same sort of inspiration, that kind of skateboarder 70s vibe. We're working on kind of like a California, but more of an urban California look. So throughout this underneath, I'm pre-lightening it all with a balayage. And it's going to be almost like a 70s version of that colour sweep where the top is nice and deep and it's coming down into that lightness. So the key for this is to really get that blend through here first, because when you come to do your actual colour blending with your toner, you want to make sure it's going on a really nice base. And then as I go through these ends, I'm going to thoroughly saturate these. So unlike a normal balayage where you would just want it to sit right on the top, we're going to saturate these ends thoroughly. So we've got a nice kind of kick of blonde coming through here. And really work that tone, that lightener in. So on this side, I'm going to be pre-lightening for you so you can see the technique that I'm using. And then on the other side, I've already pre-lightened that. So I will be showing you how I'm going to do my colour blend. For those of you that have just tuned in, I've already pre-coloured this top section, and it's been pre-coloured in a star shape. So I will show you that again at the end. So I'm going to work through here. I'm just going to double check from Belfast. Hiya. John, you're like my new little favourite fan. I love it. Perfect. So we're going to work through here. And like I said, this is a really nice, easy technique for you to work through, because that star shape that we've already created, that gives you the base for where you're going with this. So we're just going to go, again, I'm just following my zigzags as my sectioning pattern. I'm going to hold that tension in really nice and tight. Bring that round so you can see it. Now, the thing with this haircut is there's quite a few different lengths. So really make sure you're getting the tension where you need to get it. So this section is quite short, so I'm holding it higher up so that I get that tension in there. You come a bit closer so you can really see working on this here. And we're going to feather that down. I'll feather this through the side. And then we'll feather this down this side for you. Now with any balayage, it's all about making sure you're getting a nice amount of product on there so that it's really a nice even lift. The only time you get patchiness when doing a balayage is if you're not applying the right amount of product. And then we're saturating those ends thoroughly so that we get a really nice pop of blonde through there. Where is your hairdressing salon? So I'm totally freelance. I work out of 2 studio spaces in London when I do look after my clients. One is in central London and the other is in East London. The main one that I work out of is the East London one, and that's called The Social. And then once a month I'm also in the central London one, which is called Hunter Collective. And it works in a very similar way to kind of American rent-a-chair salons. So they're completely studio spaces. It's for creatives to be able to utilise the space as and when they're free to do their clients. Okay, so again, following on each section, we're just taking it from, so I've taken it from this corner now to the ear. So I'm just following that star and that zigzag so I know where I'm going. That is my roadmap. And then I'm applying it to that tallest point of the section. I'm using Liberty because I really want that clay bleach to encapsulate this and give me the right thickness to get a nice balayage. And again, it's all about your tension. When I come to the side, I pull it to the other side. We don't want any baggy sections whilst we apply this lightener. I think this is a really nice technique as well to go back to the salon with. I'm working with quite contrasting tones. I'm going to be working with a base 4 coming to a base, kind of a light base 8 on this, but again, you could easily do this with a nice base 7. You could do it in a really natural way where you're not really applying too much of a root bass to it. There are so many different variations of this. But yeah, it's just like a nice balayage technique inspired by the colour sweep with that kind of 70s skater vibe. I'm just going to blend that with my finger. So we're really getting that nice softness in there. Thoroughly saturating those ends. Now, if this was a client, I would lay this onto some flamboyage, but because it's a head, the hair's quite stiff and it kind of holds its shape as it is. What do you think would be the new colour trend out of lockdown? Pole chow, hello. Okay, so new colour trend out of lockdown. I think that's quite a difficult one because I think most people are going to be coming out of lockdown with very large roots. I feel like those that had a balayage are probably the winners right now because they are totally owning their hairstyle. But yeah, the style coming out of lockdown, I think it's going to be our job as hairdressers to really kind of inspire our clients to go for that new look. I think that what's going to have happened is everyone's going to have just seen themselves so much during this lockdown, and technically we're the only people we're seeing is ourselves right now, and whoever you're in isolation with. So I think it's going to be about kind of reinventing them and their look. For me, I'm not saying I don't think trends exist, but I'm not someone that completely follows trends. For me, I think it's really important for my clients to get a personalised, updated look that works for them more than it's on trend. So I'm probably one of the worst people to ask for trend advice on in that way, because I feel like everything should work individually for that one person. And I take inspiration from many things, more so than I do kind of trend-led advice. And I think I'm open for debate, but I feel like there is a big thing about kind of main trends slowly dying out, and there's so many micro trends around the world with social media now, that everybody kind of has their own take on things and their own groups. Everyone has their own community. I think it's actually a really special thing, that everybody can kind of be them in that cliche way. Everyone can be their best self. So somebody asked about Liberty. I'm using it with 40 volume, but that is because I'm doing it on a doll's head and I want to kind of get that really nice shift with this doll's head. I wouldn't normally use 40 volume with Liberty. I wouldn't normally use 40 volume with a bleach of any form. So I would normally go in with 20 or 30 with Liberty. So just to clarify, but because it is a doll's head, I'm going in with the maximum because I just want to really get that kind of shift in there. Okay, so this is an important bit that I just want to kind of focus on. So this little section here is going to be my last kind of large section that I take. And then as I come in towards the fringe section, I'm going to take smaller parts. So before I take this section, I'm just going to double check any of your comments. Oh, thank you. Perfect, but keep your questions coming in, guys. And What trends do you think your clients are going to be interested in after lockdown? I find it really interesting because everyone has very kind of different styles throughout the world, throughout the UK, throughout Europe. I mean, even London, we have got such distinct styles. Tom and I have said about it before. He lives over in West London, and I live in East London. I live by all the hipsters. So there's a clear distinction in styles alone. So the trends that are going to be happening over by my part of London will be different to the trends that are happening in Tom's part of London. So I think that's why I kind of feel like it's not necessarily a trend-led thing. I think it's very much a client-led thing. Right, so I'm holding that tension in and just giving it a soft blur. And then what I'm doing is thoroughly saturating these ends. So if anybody watched my Hair Tribe TV yesterday, I did a live for them yesterday afternoon. This is kind of like a less, I suppose this is like a more commercial version of what I did for that. And it's kind of something that you'd be able to bring back to the salon really nicely. But for those of you that did watch the Hair Tribe TV, that's kind of a progression of this look. Kind of creating that outer rim and that face frame of colour. I'm just going to lower this down. How are you all doing? How thick are the vertical sections? So I'm really following this zigzag. So I've made this zigzag, this star, quite large. So each section is then being split in two. So I would say each section is probably about 1 inch to 1.5 inches thick. And then obviously as you come through to the ends, it gets finer. So for those that work in centimetres, we're probably working on about 4 centimetres. Ciao, ciao, ciao. I'm glad you guys are agreeing. Yeah, there isn't, totally no overall trend. I think it's open for interpretation. And you get micro trends, which I find micro trends really fascinating. And I think it's remembering that our clients aren't just one size fits all. There might be about 5 different micro trends that they're into. Okay, so with this front section, so this is the fringe. It's dried a bit funny because it's had a clip in it. But this is the fringe section. So what I'm going to do is going to do some tiny micro balayages for this. So I'm just going to check if there was any more questions, and then I'm going to bring you really close so that you can see this micro balayage. Okay, so you're not going to see my face for a little bit, but I'm still here, you can see my hands. So with this section, what I'm going to do is take a fine section and zigzag through that section. So we've now got a small zigzagged panel. And then I'm going to clip that top bit away. And then each tiny bit of zigzag I'm going to take, and that becomes our small section that we're balayaging. So you just want a really small amount of product for this. And we're scooting that across the top. So just a small amount of product, and that's being scooted through that top section, like so. And then as we come through that end, we're going to be saturating that. I'm going to allow that to lay over onto the flamboyage. Okay, so then we take the next section. There we go. And we're just, the little zigzags that we're creating, that is our road map. That's going to tell us where we're going with this balayage. Making sure it's nice and saturated, and we've definitely got that tension. So this is a really nice technique to do on fringes in general. A lot of people now like that grown out fringe look, and then they go into a balayage, and rather than completely ignoring the fringe, what we want to do is we want to just keep kind of some soft highlights through that. So we're just doing some micro balayage through that fringe. And if you didn't want it to be as heavy, because we're going to be doing every single piece of this balayage, of this fringe with a balayage, what you can do is do every other piece. So you could leave a piece out and then do another piece. Okay, so as I'm getting into the fringe section, I'm just going to clip the rest of it away so it's nice and clean. Lovely, I'm gonna softly scoot that through here for you. And then as we come down, we saturate that through. So you would probably have noticed that I'm not scooting my balayage right up to the root. That's because when it's rinsed off, I'll be going straight into a colour melt with it. And we want that kind of deep root to be working through here. So with that, I'm only taking the balayage up, again, about an inch from the part-in, so a couple of centimetres. Okay, and I'm taking, just following that across. Scooting that across, like I said. It's like you're icing a cake. I'm not much of a baker, but I've seen quite a lot of people in isolation recently that have been baking banana bread and muffins and all sorts. I'm very envious of everyone that has the time to bake. But it's very much like icing a cake. And then we're saturating those ends. And then just making sure that it sits on top of that flamboyage so that it's nice and neat and doesn't get on the face. So my last two sections, I'm just going to keep that section underneath the flamboyage to start with. There we go. Just going to make sure you can see okay. Right, once I've finished these two sections, I'm going to double check all your questions because I can see them pinging in right now. So just so you know that I'm there for you. So the last little section of this fringe. Make sure you only have a small amount of product, like I said before. Keep your tension in place, even though it's small. Just use the corners of your brush to give it a slight flick so it blends it all in for you. I very rarely use a board when I balayage, but that's only because the majority of the time I forget to use a board because I'm so used to using my hands for everything. And I think your hands are the best tools that a hairdresser can have, whether it's colouring, cutting or styling. Your hands do so much for you. But I always keep a towel to keep my hands nice and clean. Okay, so let's have a look at your questions, and I'll scoot this back slightly. Hi everybody, Would you recommend doing the star colour first and rinse before doing the balayage? Not necessarily. I've only done it for timing for you guys because it isn't going to be very exciting for you to watch me do an all over colour at this top, but it is a lot more exciting to see the balayage section and the blend. So that's the only reason why I've done it that way. What I would probably do is, to be honest, thinking of it, I would probably do all the balayage around the edges, and then I would do the star when I come to do the blend for everything. So the second application where you're toning and blending, that's when I would do the star. So yeah, I hope that helps. Hi there, sorry I'm losing you all. Hi there, what product and developer is being used? So for those that have just joined in, I am using Century of Light Liberty. For the doll's head, I'm actually using 40 volume. Again, to clarify, it's only because it's the doll's head. Normally I would go in with 30 or 20 depending on the hair texture that I'm working on. And then as I move on to the next section, I'll explain the products that I'm using. Yes, thank you Rico for explaining for me. Hi from Germany. Are you doing this V application on the fringe? Yes, so with this fringe, what I've done is I've got this V section here and I've just zigzagged it through, so we've got some nice soft micro balayage working on there. And then what I'm going to do for this top section, we've got my roadmap under here, so I'm going to work from this point to this point in here. So we're going to have ever so slightly larger micro sections through this very top bit, and it's just working from point to point every single time. So I'll come in close again for you. Again, just a small amount of product on your brush, scooting it across the top really softly on both sides, and then we're saturating these ends. I'm glad a lot of you are, I'm just going to softly blend that in there for you. I'm glad that a lot of you are agreeing on the trend side of things. But like I said, I am totally open for debate. I like everyone kind of having their own unique opinions on these things. Okay, so I'm now going to go in here. So I'm just taking it to this point that's up here. So this top section is being split into 3. And then again, scooting that right across through here. And saturating those ends. So key points, whenever you balayage, you want to make sure your tension is really tight so that you're getting a clean application of product. You want to make sure that your sectioning pattern is nice and simple to follow, and it's your road map. So I always work on some sort of zigzag sectioning pattern for a balayage because it works with the natural fall of the hair, and it's nice and quick and easy for in the salon to follow a zigzag pattern. This is my last section here. And lastly, get a nice consistency with your Century of Light Liberty. I'm working on a 1:2 ratio. Again, I'm going to talk about baking, even though I'm not a baker. I always think of it as when you're whisking meringue, when you're whisking those egg whites for meringue, and people tell you to put the bowl upside down over your head. That's kind of what you want to be able to do. You want to be able to put Liberty upside down above your head so it's nice and thick and stiff. And saturating those ends. Blending up. It's always nice just to give the top a soft blur with your finger. There we go. Just checking before I move on. Any questions? Did you say it's a clay bleach? Yes, it is a clay-based bleach, which means that it will harden, the top section will harden and encapsulate the rest of the bleach, which means it lifts up really nice, which is why it's really important to get a thick layer of the product over the top. If you have any sections that have a bit of thick product and then not so thick product, then one section is going to lift more than the other, and that's when you start getting a patchy balayage. What you want to do is make sure you're getting a nice thick application throughout. How long do you allow for appointments in your salon? Full head foils, a cut? Do you book in between your colours? That's a really good question. My appointments will really vary. Just going to move on from that. My appointments really vary depending on exactly what I'm doing, my client, and who is, for each person that is in my chair. So I don't have really set rigid appointment times. Again, it's the kind of nice thing about me being freelance and controlling my own clientele. I really just book in per client. So if they've got thick hair, for a balayage, it could take me anything from half an hour to an hour and a half. So it really just depends on what it is and who it is that I'm working with. For a cut and blow dry, I normally have an hour. Again, for a full head of highlights, it could take me from an hour to 2 hours, depending on the length and amount of hair. I don't book anybody in until I've physically seen them, had a chat with them, seen their hair, and I know what I'm working with. Okay, so moving back on. So the darker tone that I'm using is within Mask with Vibrochrome, and it is 4,18. So we've got 4,18 because I really wanted to work with a really kind of deep matte black, but without it being really black. I just wanted kind of that, a matted dark brown is probably the best way for me to describe it for you. So I'm just going to mix this up, and I'm just going to work this with 10 volume because we just want to deepen this down on the doll's head. And for a change, I'm not actually going to mix anything with the 4,18. I like to normally add a dash of something into things, but I actually I want the tone that it's already creating for me. Perfect, so I'm going to mix that up. And then the next tone that I'm going to be working with, I really wanted to work this against a really nice golden blonde. So you get that kind of 70s California feel through those ends. Again, taking inspiration from that colour sweep, I really like the mustardy blonde that's within that, and I like that it sits underneath that nice heavy darkness. So again, creating a balayage version of that, we're working with a really nice kind of golden tone to blend that through. So I always mix up with one brush and apply with another, just for clean applications. So the tones that I'm going to work with, I'm going to work 2/3 of 8,33, and I'm going to work with 1/3 of 9,31. And I'm going to work that in Master Vibratron as well, but with 5 activator. So I'm going to work that with 5 volume, just because I'm using it as a toner, and I just want to blend those ends into the rest of it. God, my time has disappeared, guys. You've been asking all these lovely questions. So what I'll do is I'll start doing this colour blend for you. Make sure you get to see a few sections, and then as it finishes, I will finish it off behind the scenes for you. So I'm doing 20 volume, 20 mil of the 8,33. And then I'll be doing 10 mil of my 9,31. And like I said before, mixing up with one brush and applying with another for cleanliness. Like I said before, I'm at home in my London apartment, and my cats are fighting behind the scenes. I'm just trying to make sure that you can't hear them. Perfect, so mixing up this nice goldeny mustard tone. Hi Lisa, oh thank you so much. Hair Ninja, I love that. I'm in London and I'm keeping safe. I'm in isolation. We get to go out at the moment for exercise. So every couple of days I go out for a run, and once a week I go to the shops to get some food, but that's about as much outside as I get. I'm quite lucky in London where I am. I overlook the Olympic Park and I have a balcony, so I spend a lot of time reading on my balcony to relax and escape. I think it's really important for us to not always feel productive. We can also have that downtime, because it's very rare that we'll ever spend so much time at home. Always clean and tidy. Thank you, Craig. I am indeed. What was the colour formula you used on the star section area, please? So the colour formula that I used on the star section is exactly the same as what I've done on the regrowth, and that is the 4,18 in Mask Vibrachrome. Okay, so we're going to be working through this side section. I already said it's already been pre-lightened in exactly the same way I've done that other side and showed you that other side. And I'm just going to work up, again in angles, just because that's how I naturally work. And I'm going to work with the flow of the head. There we go. And what I'm going to do is going to apply this regrowth to start with. But I'm only going to drag it down a certain amount. So I'm just dragging that down. Just want to make sure you can see. I'm wearing a hat today because my hair, I've got a very much an isolation hairstyle right now, so I've put a hat on so I look presentable for you all. So I've brought that down just a couple of centimetres, and then I'm going to go in with my 8, applying that through where that blonde is. And I'm going to take the 8 up into some of the dark hair already, because it's really important when you're doing a blend of any form to take the lighter panel up higher. The lighter tone needs to go over the hair first, and then you blend in the darker tone over the top. So that way it's not dropping dark straight away. So I'm just going to clean my hand. And then we're going to take that dark down into, and I'm just feathering it down and blending it down with the corner of my brush, because I just want a gentle diffusion. And then cleaning my hand again, I'm just going to do a gentle smudge with my fingers so it blends. And what's going to happen is we're working with a 4 and an 8, so that's going to smudge in, and we're just going to get a shift of a 6, which will be really lovely to blend that through. So what I'll do on the next section, I'll come in nice and tight. Oh, thank you for all my brilliance, that's so sweet. Yeah, so we've got just over 10 minutes left, everyone. So any questions, anything that you want to ask before it finishes, please fire away. So I'm just going to come in nice and tight for you. Let me lower it down so you can definitely see it. I'm just trying to make sure it's kind of high enough for the comments as well for you all. So again, we've got a nice tension on the section. We're applying this regrowth in first. When you're doing a colour blend of any description, whether it's a creative one or a commercial one like this, it's so important to keep your brushes and your hands clean so that you get a nice blend and you don't get any mistakes. So I'm taking that down by a couple of centimetres, and then we're going in with our mask through those ends with this 8. And we're taking that up a little bit higher than what we would for the blonde, just so we get that area where we can blend it together. Always applying the lighter tone on the hair first when it comes to the blend, so that it's not dropping down dark. Wiping those hands, keeping everything clean, and then we're going in really gently with the corner of our brush to blend that 4 down into the 8, and that's going to give us a really soft 6 through there, so we're getting that subtle blend. just gonna blend that with my hand as well. And I always come down and then feather it back up. So what's going to be nice with this golden toner is because the head block will only lighten a certain amount. It's really just enhancing the tone that it's lightened to, which I think is really nice. It's just giving it that nice soft shimmer and that gloss. Applying that regrowth, just a couple of centimetres, about an inch. And then coming in with your toner through those ends. Making sure your 8 goes up higher than you would want the 8 to be showing. And then just touching that 4 gently through. You really want that overlap so that you really get a blend. Let me just check for any questions. Love the colour blend application, so neat and clean, thank you. Oh, my pleasure. Another free education. Yep, you're getting all the free education from me every single Thursday. I am coming to you from my flat in London to check in, see how you're all doing. I think it's nice for us all to have that kind of weekly check-in with everyone. And I will be doing colour inspiration. So this colour is being created on the haircut that Tom created on Tuesday. So my partner Matthew recreated the haircut for me earlier, and I am now applying the colour application over the top of it. So that way you get to see a nice way of colouring that lovely haircut that Tom did on Tuesday. So bringing that 8 up that bit higher. And then softly smudging down the 4. So if you wanted to, on these pre-lightened sections, for those that did watch my live on Hair Tribe, you could very much do application like I did on Hair Tribe, where you're marbling tones together. But what you can do is you could do that with toners. You don't have to do it with creative colours from the alchemic section range that I was working with. You could just do it with a couple of toners. It's really nice to kind of marble together like an 8, 9 and a 10, and you just get lots of nice shimmers. It's a really beautiful technique, especially for curly hair, curly and wavy hair. It's really, really lovely. So we're just softly blending through this side after our pre-lightening. So for those that have just joined, I know we're coming to the end. If you want to go back and watch, on the other side I showed you how I did the balayage for this section, and this section's already been balayaged for us, so I'm just blending through the toners. Can I repeat the colour numbers? Of course. So I'm working with Mask Vibrochrom, and I've worked with 4,18 for the dark tone, and I've worked with 2/3 of 8,33 and 1/3 of 9,31. The 4 has been applied with 10 volume, and the 8 has been applied with 5 volume. Just going to blend that and soften that in. Perfect. So I'll do one more section for you all. Oh, and sorry, the top section, which is the star that I've created. Again, that is done with R4, so that is the 4,18 that I'm working with there. I'm going to bring this back again so I can see you all properly before we finish. So I'll do one more section before we end. So any questions, ping them to me now so that I can answer them before we close. So just to recap, as I'm finishing this section off for you, I've created a star shape through this top bit and pre-coloured that already with the 4,18. I've then gone through and balayaged the sections around the edge, so like a face frame. It's a progression on the colour sweep where we've got that really nice kind of honey blonde sitting underneath the dark. So it's a balayaged version of that. On this side, I worked through the balayage for you all. Again, working in kind of chunky sections, saturating those ends. It's really important to get that lightness. And then through the fringe, working micro balayage pieces, so we get a softness in that really heavy fringe. And then on this side, I've been showcasing you the colour blend and the melt with the two tones from the star to the ends. So we're going to have it all, when it's all dressed out, it'll all be melted together. So let me check if you've got any more questions, ping them over. Thank you, the top. So blessed to be getting so much great education while having to stay at home. Yes, that is exactly the point. We're here to keep you safe, to keep you sane, and to keep you inspired, so that when we are allowed back outside and back behind the chair, you guys can go straight back and feel super inspired, and you'll have all these techniques. And like I was saying, I don't feel like there's going to be a certain trend when we get back. Our clients are just going to be so eager and so appreciative of us, and they're all going to want some sort of restyle because they'll have been bored seeing themselves, and we'll have been so bored being at home, watching everybody creating stuff. So we're going to be really eager to cut some hair, colour some hair. So that's what we're here to do, to inspire you to be able to do all of that. So fun. Doing live, my pleasure. How would you do the separation, like more bleaches, the stars, or keep the 1 inch together? So I would just, so I'm going to answer that question in the comments for you, because Facebook will cut me off. So I just want to say thank you all for watching, and I will post the picture up tomorrow of the finished look. Have a wonderful weekend, whatever you do, and I will see you again the same time next Thursday. Mwah. Lots of love.